Hey Top Shelfers, welcome to Behind the Bar, where we make historic cocktails that are enjoyed every day. This is part of our exclusive content for our email members as well as our locals patrons. Thank you so much for being part of the Top Shelf community. Now today I have a very special cocktail for you. It is known as the Millionaire. Now the Millionaire first appeared in recipe books around the 1920s, being really verified in a book that came out of the Ritz Hotel in London in 1927. But our recipe is a little bit different from that one. Most of the original recipes had rye whiskey as its base, but today we're making a change. We're going to have a rum base, which will make this drink a lot sweeter and probably a little more unique. Now, we will start out our drink with our coupe glass. As with all things back in the day, refrigeration wasn't as common, so chilling our glasses down via fridge was a little bit difficult for some bars. So we're going to go with a classic way of chilling down our cocktail, which is to put in some ice and then spread the surface of the temperature out across the glass by filling it with water. So let's start with that. Into our ice bucket, we'll grab some ice, a couple clumps in there. We're just going to make sure that it's all filled. Yeah, that's a good amount. And then we will pour some water in from our pitcher. Now this is going to be a great way to chill down our glass, and a lot of old bartenders did this to make sure that the glass was perfectly cold by the time that the drink was made. So while we are making our drink, our glass will chill down. We're going to set this off to the side and begin making our drink. So let's get out our shaker. Now, like I said, this is different from the old recipes of the early 20s and what's even considered to be a Millionaire today. This recipe is fairly unique. It's coming out of that recipe book known as Just Cocktails, which was copyrighted in 1939. Now, to start off our drink, we're going to start out with an ounce of rum. Now, in the recipe, it calls for Jamaican rum, but I feel like any rum will really do. This Bacardi rum is made in Puerto Rico, so this will do just fine. So we're going to take 1 ounce of our rum and pour it on in. Next, we are going to follow that up with 1 ounce of apricot flavored brandy. Now this is some delicious stuff. I love apricots. It's actually my favorite fruit, and adding the brandy element to the fruit is gonna make this almost refined and delicious. Very unique flavor, but it's gonna be really good. So now we have our apricot brandy, and our last ingredient, I believe, is going to be our sloe gin. Now, sloe gin, unlike normal gin, is it has the sloe fruit in it. Most gins are derived from juniper, or at least I should say distilled from juniper. This is distilled with sloe. It's almost a berry-like fruit, and gives you a very nice sweet flavor, far more sweet on the palate than your typical gins or dry gins. So we're going to put in 1 ounce of our sloe gin. Beautiful. Next, we are going to put in what calls for a dash of grenadine. I have some homemade grenadine here. It's delicious. If you guys ever want to go with grenadine, I highly recommend making your own. It's so much better than the store-bought, in my opinion. Now, by our definitions in our cocktail recipe book, a dash is 1/3 of a teaspoon. They give you this at the beginning of the book. So we want to make sure that we're as close to these measurements as possible. So I have a very specific measurement here. We're going to pour our homemade grenadine in, and there's our 1/3 of a teaspoon. This is nice and syrupy, really delicious. We have some date syrup that goes into here too, that really differentiates it from, let's say, like a Rose's grenadine, which focuses so much on the pomegranate flavor. And then the last ingredient that we're going to pour in here is going to be the juice of 1 lime. So we're going to use fresh limes here. I'm just going to cut it in half. And then we have our press. This is very useful if you guys have a home bar. Get the most juice out of your limes as possible. So we're just going to strain that in. Oh yeah. Beautiful. Take that out. Toss that away. Then take our second lime Get all that wonderful flavor in there. And I think that the introduction of the lime is going to play really, really well with the rum. So I'm excited to see how this comes out. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to put in some ice and then give it a shake. So some ice, pour that on in, and we shake. Make sure you add flourishes in there so that everybody thinks that you know what you're doing. That smells glorious. Now, this actually calls for 2 different shakes. Now, you could do this. I don't think I'm going to. If you introduce something like, say, egg white, you could do a wet shake, then follow it up with a dry shake. This will increase the silkiness of the flavor and give you a really great mouthfeel. But since we're missing our egg white in our recipe, we're not going to do that. So next, we're going to get rid of our water and ice that has chilled down our glass beautifully, and then we will be able to strain into our glass. And that is beautiful. You got that deep pink red color that comes from our sloe gin, and it looks so enticing. But before we do that, we want to garnish our drink. Now, our drink calls for 2 garnishes, and the first one is ground nutmeg, which should be interesting with the flavors that we have, but we want to follow the recipe as it's given. So I will start first with tapping in some ground nutmeg. I'll add some serious spice to this rather interesting combination of citrus and apricot flavors. Then it calls for us to garnish with a orange wedge. This has been a pre-cut slice, so we're just going to quarter this. And then I'm going to give this a nice little stab here, so this will sit on our drink. And let's flip that around. That looks better. And there you have it, the Millionaire. And it looks beautiful. It looks so enticing. I can't wait to give it a try. So let's give it a taste. And that nutmeg really is aromatic, but you can still smell the citrus. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's so good. That surprised me a little bit when I was looking at the recipe and also comparing it to the recipe that's common nowadays with the rye whiskey. It was interesting in my head to see how they were going to combine the apricot brandy with the citrus flavors, but they work so well. The lime juice really has the loudest voice of all of our ingredients here, so the citrus plays hard, but it works so well with the rum. The nutmeg is not distracting here. The spices are actually quite complementary to the flavor profiles we have. The sloe gin is delicious. This is a fantastic cocktail, and certainly one I think that would be fitting for a millionaire. So there you guys have it. Feel like millionaires yourselves. Make this drink at home. To all of you guys, we love you. Enjoy.